Well, the kids left home, we didn't have anything to do, so did what we call run the roads. We went out and started collecting clear decanters to start with. We lived at this time in Lebanon. We had a loft, and we had about 30 places between the spindles to put something, so we collected clear decanters. Run out of them, and we visited a little place in Lebanon. At that time it was called Brown's Antique, and they had some of these fancy decanters, and we bought 7 or 8 of them. They were state bottles, and they were made by Jim Beam. So we decided, this is 1980, and we thought we'd get all 50 states. We didn't know they didn't make 50 state bottles. So in 1981, we went to the flea market in Nashville and ran into a guy down there from Louisville, Kentucky that belonged to the Jim Beam International Association, which we never heard of. And he had several bottles or decanters for sale, and he talked to the notion, it was in October, and he talked to the notion going down to the bottle club, which was down in the bottom part of one of those buildings at the fairground, and saw a large collection down there. Used to belong to the club, which was the Music City Jim Beam Decanters Collectors Club, and so we decided we'd think about it. A month later, we joined the club, started collecting bottles. Started out with the 8 ceramic ones we got in Lebanon, and we now got a little over 2,600 decanters. We've got every decanter, at least one of every decanter that Regal China made. Regal China was not known for its decanters, it was known for lamps and ashtrays and pitchers and stuff, but they made a couple of bottles for Jim Beam. Eventually Jim Beam company bought them out, and they became a part of it, and they made all the decanters for Jim Beam. Jim Beam would not let them make any decanters. I have one they made for a Peyton Liquor Company, but they was forced not to issue it. And it's from then on, it's kind of like, I don't know what, you get one and you got to have them all. So we've been to conventions, international conventions, everywhere from Hollywood, Florida, New Orleans, Kansas City, Portland, Oregon, Boston, Massachusetts. Everywhere you think of, we went to. This year, since Betty's health has declined, we don't get to go. But this year they're having it right out of Illinois, Chicago, Illinois. And this will be the 46th convention that we'll have. Jim Beam, Regal China Company went out of business in 1992 because of they couldn't work out agreements with the union ceramic workers. So a different company now been producing the bottle. But I have one of every decanter that Jim Beam made in my collection, all the way from the First National Bank of Chicago, which is the most expensive, all the way down to a 50-cent bottle. But I have them all, and I'm still collecting. I get about 4 or 5 what they call go-with. They advertise pieces or something special for the officers and stuff. And they have made, Jim Beam was purchased by Centroy, a Japanese liquor company now, and they started back producing a decanter once a year. The first year they produced was 2 years ago. They produced a replica of the steel house up there. They're a gift shop and everything. We have it. They did the tour bus where you go to the distillery, take tour throughout the distillery. They have that. I don't know what they're going to have in 2016, what they're going to make, but they're going to make one a year. And there are many, many stores to understand. They put out a series called Cleopatra and Mark Anthony. Well, they made 2 bottles, but the state of Alabama would not let them sell a bottle of booze in Alabama with a woman's picture on it. So they had to take Cleopatra off and just make the bottle with Mark Anthony on it. And by the way, that bottle is worth about 4 times more than the other 2. Good story between all these that I've collected. Got them everywhere. I spent a miserable weekend one time because we went to Evansville, Indiana, and we was going up to Shaker Town up there, and we stopped at a flea market up there, and this lady had 10 or 12 bottles. She had one that I didn't have. Biddy, my wife, told me to come up there and take a look at it, so I went up there and looked at it. And the most expensive bottle she had marked the cheapest. I didn't want to pay that much for it, so I told her, I asked her would she take, she wanted $25 for it. I asked her would she take 20, and she didn't answer me, and I looked, and she was smiling. I went, well, I better look at that thing again, it might be broke. So I asked her again, and she took a piece of paper and wrote down and said, I'm deaf. And I just wrote $20 question. She said yes. And the rest of the weekend I was in the doghouse because I had talked the lady down, and they didn't think I ought to, but I did anyway. But all these other things, there's a story behind every one of them. You think you've got it down. I've studied them day and night, know a lot of stories about them, but they're interesting. I have the largest collection on display, I guess, in the southeast region anywhere. We have one in our bottle club that has several decanters, but they're in boxes and whatever. But my wife told me I could have them as long as I could display them. So I think they're about 50 cabinets, as you see. They're really not cabinets because they're fastened to the wall on glass shelves behind glass. And I made them child-proof. There's a certain way you can get in and out, but there's a good thing. We've been in the bottle club since 1981. In 1999, I became president of the Middle Tennessee Music City Bottle Club. I've been president ever since. Even this year, they elected me in December. So it's a nice collection. If I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't do it. But I've been a lot of friends. Spent a lot of money and enjoyed myself, and they brought the senior citizen group from Lebanon about 3 times up here. It's been on local news shows. One of them was Tennessee Crossroads. They showed it several times all the way across Tennessee. I think they have 8 PBS stations. And the first time was on the television was Clifton Hunt. You may have heard of him. He did a show called Off the Beaten Path. He came up here and spent a day filming and everything. But I enjoy my bottles.